Hey, welcome listeners. We're here with episode 50. That's a milestone, buddy.
Yeah,
I'm
it
here
is.
with I'm here with Wes. Episode 50. We're here, Road to Black podcast, and basically it's the year in review. Talk about a little bit about the year we had this last year, and then also go into maybe setting some new goals for the new year. We're closing out the year. We just got through the Christmas holiday. How was your holiday, Wes?
It was busy. That's sure like everybody else, man.
Yeah.
It's like it's busy. It's full of. I've been traveling a bunch.
Yeah.
Really, since Master Worlds, I've been traveling a bunch. So went out, saw
Go,
my
go, go.
folks. Yeah, go. Went out, saw my folks. Went and saw them the week before Christmas. Got back a couple days before Christmas. Spent Christmas here, and then it's just been
Yeah.
Now here we are. It's Monday.
Was it a white Christmas and where you're at?
No, man, it's been unseasonably warm here.
Really?
Yeah, so it's not been super cold. It's chilly. I think it's going to cool off this week. 30s and 40s.
Yeah. No snow though.
But no snow. No, we really need the snow, or else our state's going to be on fire this next year. So
Crazy. It's getting worse
yeah,
every year.
we really need the snow. So as soon as that can happen, the better.
Yeah. Same here, man. Just running around. It's always chaotic. It's like yesterday. It was all the just wiped out from Christmas and stuff. So, but it was fun spending some time with family and stuff, and got back into the gym this morning, back on the grind. So things are a little quiet around the gym in December, I've noticed.
Yeah.
I saw a funny meme today. It was on BJJ Fanatics page, but it was like somebody posted it up there. It's like
Was it the wrestling one?
Yeah.
Oh,
the academy. The
that
academy at the end of December. It's just two guys in there fighting in the rest WWE ring, and then the beginning of January, it's the Royal Rumble. you know?
Yeah.
It's so true, and it applies to. It definitely applies. I've always noticed that in the strength gym. It's any real regular gym you go into. January just gets a huge influx of people with New Year's resolutions. But I've noticed that just being in jiu-jitsu for years and years. It's December's our classes have been a lot smaller, I should say.
Yeah.
So especially around the holiday, those last couple of weeks, it's like. People have so much going on. It's hard to get some people get out of their daily system, their daily routine and schedule during the holidays. You're running all over the place, can't get your training in. But so I'm hoping come January, things start picking up and I start seeing some more faces that I haven't seen in a while. So, but
yeah, I typically expect that. It's like I don't even. It used to kind of bother me because I would, in the past, not like this last year, man, I just trained so much. It was like, the whole year, it was just a constant. I didn't take any, I don't think I took any breaks more than like a week.
Mm-hmm.
The whole year. So I was like,
Yeah.
it came this time, I was like, well,
That's just what I do.
It's not the end, I've had a really great year.
Mm-hmm.
So in jiu-jitsu, so I was like, if I miss a week or 10 days, not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Not even worried about it. I'm going to like really focus on
And that's
making
what you-
sure I'm
yeah.
spending quality time with family and, doing really being dedicated and engaged in this season, I guess. So I didn't make a huge deal out of it.
No, well, because you're consistent. It's the people that aren't that.
Totally.
Yeah, it's so we'll see. My business slows down in December too, just because of that. People aren't working out as much. I'm not seeing as many athletes in there, so we'll see. But man, episode 50. This
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So in 2021, it was our first full year where we went the whole year podcasting. So really, thanks to all the listeners. It's basically why we're on here talking shit about jiu-jitsu. Is just, we get good feedback and, people like to listen. And we started this podcast basically because it's for us is the road to black. We're just talking about our experiences on the mats and off related to jiu-jitsu or not, and basically get on the road to get on our black belt. We're both Brazilian jiu-jitsu brown belts. We've both been training for a long time, and we can share our own unique experiences, and that's why we kind of got together. And Wes and I had friendship before we started the podcast, obviously, and we just Wes moved from Arizona to Colorado, and we started talking more and more, trying to keep in touch, and one thing led to another, and we thought this would be a good place to put up some conversation in terms of having a podcast and dedicating some time to it. And Wes does a ton of work on the production side of this, all the visuals and social media you see, he does, and I thank him for that because I love this stuff, and we get new followers every week. We don't do any advertising or promotion, so anytime you as a listener want to share our stuff, I could speak for Wes, we totally love that, because any eyes on it's better for us, because we just want to see that there's interest in continuing and having these conversations, but also having guests on and spreading the new, the word of jiu-jitsu. I know we have listeners that I've had a couple people come up to me in person. It's interesting, I saw some people at a tournament, hey, it's weird to see you. I listen to your podcast, and I saw a guy that came into my other business, and he had just started jiu-jitsu, so it was like, for him, it's probably like, for me and you, it's like we're just brown belts talking, but for him, it's like, oh, here's this jiu-jitsu podcast, and he just gets a lot out of the being able to relate. Like, we've talked about every aspect of jiu-jitsu, the struggles with the injury. It's just very relatable to somebody that's brand new, even, much less somebody that's been in the game as long as us, and we've been through all this stuff.
Yeah,
so that's
a bunch of times.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of why we wanted to do that and share those experiences and help people, both people that are on the road to black already, but also, I'm sure we've had a couple listener or two that I know we have, because I've talked to them, that they don't even train jiu-jitsu. Maybe they just know you or I, and they're listening to the podcast, and it's almost like a different language to them, but nonetheless they might follow and try to listen along and just to hear the conversation. So
yeah, it's been fun. I mean, you were saying we've had, what was it, 6 guests?
Yep.
All
that's
6 of
our guests came last year.
That took quite a bit of prep work to get that on board. It still does, but it still does take quite a bit of prep work. But the first guest that we had, it took a lot of
Well, we wanted to be ready in terms of production, but also just being able to communicate with the third person, and because it sounds. Not every podcast sounds good, and I don't even know where we would rank ours, but at least we can have a conversation. That's really what it's about. So we've had 6 guests on all this last year, starting with Nick Flores. He's a friend of ours. Episode 25, it was last March. So at that time, we had been podcasting about 6 months, and we had our first guest, who is a friend of ours. He's a black belt.
He's a stud. Yeah. He's just he's a great guy. He's a great friend. He's a stud. He's just an amazing guy. His whole family. His wife's a brown belt.
Yeah.
Kids train.
Yeah. He's a stand-up guy. So best guy to have on as a first podcast guest. He was awesome. Talked about his own journey, and where he's at in his jiu-jitsu. And, you're talking about a guy that's just, he's a regular, he's a businessman. He has a 9-to-5 job. He travels for his job. He's raises a family. He's doing well for himself. He's doing well in jiu-jitsu. He competes a lot. So if you guys want to check out Nick Flores, episode 25, go check that out. We had Josh Guerra in April. So Josh is a black belt competitor here based in Arizona. He has his own academy. It's called Refuge BJJ, and that was another great one. Got a little bit of insight in coaching. Josh has been a coach. one of the things about Josh is, you'll hear in his podcast, is that he was coaching at a young age. If you recall that conversation,
he's still a young guy too. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah,
you think like, I look at Josh. He's been a black belt for a couple years.
Yeah,
he's well established in the jiu-jitsu scene.
Yeah,
he's had his gym for a couple years.
Yeah,
and you think about this guy. He's like, what is he? 25, 26, maybe something like that. It's
amazing.
Like it's crazy.
I think
goes out and competes all the time. I mean, this guy has a family. It's crazy.
Makes me feel old, real old. Because when I came to the gym, I heard, I was like, oh, this teenager guy, he's this Josh guy over at this other affiliate. And next thing you know, like a few years later, he's like a brown belt teaching me left and right. He's like, and then I see it just grows and grows and grows and grows. He gets an academy. He's competing all over.
Totally.
He's running a successful academy, by the way. Very successful,
Yeah.
But bunch of new students. People love training over there. So props to Josh, and he's a great dude as well. So go check out Josh Guerra's podcast, episode 28. Refuge BJJ, if you want to follow Josh, at Josh Guerra or Refuge BJJ. In May, we had Aaron Wilson. So that was a fun one. Aaron Wilson was episode 32. Aaron talked about a
lot of stuff. I mean, wrestling.
Yeah.
He's a firefighter. Combat. He's doing the combat jiu-jitsu thing. He's all over the place. He had just come off that Emerald City Invitational win. That tournament he had, I think he won one, lost one again, and completely upsetted the brackets in that tournament. He beat a guy that was, I mean, they were kind of, he talks about it, they were interviewing the other guy, and he kind of took it as a little bit of a slap in the face because they didn't even interview him. And then here he was going out to fight that guy.
Yeah.
And I think he knee barred him, and like this really
sick.
Clean knee bar. So, and then I think he was rolling right around, going to do the combat jiu-jitsu worlds. Had that thoracic Alex syndrome injury.
I was going to say that was probably the most crazy part of his conversation.
Had surgery, like a big rehab. I mean, he had a rib taken out. Big rehab associated with that, and talking about coming back and doing all this stuff afterwards.
Huge.
It was amazing.
Aaron was great. Thanks, Aaron, for popping on here. Go listen to Aaron Wilson also at Aaron Wilson BJJ on Instagram, episode 32. Check out Aaron. And then Patrick came along, Patrick Almeida, episode 34. That was in June. Mm-hmm. So Patrick, he works with Wes. So we heard a lot about that. How's Patrick doing, Wes?
He's doing great.
Awesome.
He's doing great. His knees are doing better than they've ever been before. So
great.
No issues there. I don't want to air anything out, but looks like he's going to be doing the ADCC trials in Brazil.
Spoiler alert.
And spoiler alert there. He's going to be potentially going down and training with Gordon Ryan and those guys for leg locks. He wants his strategy. I don't want to air too much about it, but he wants to
get some new game going.
Get some new game going, and really go down to on top of his fitness and his cardio and conditioning. Also have some new game for when he goes down to Brazil for the trials. So
nice.
A lot of great things coming up for that for him, and he's put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
So it's that dude he hustles.
Yeah.
Consistency is key for him, and he posted all over his Instagram, just him at the gym every day.
Yeah.
It's just that's what he does.
And he talked about that on the episode. It was episode 34. Also, he wants to fight MMA. He talked about that a little bit. So go check out Patrick's episode. And in July, we had Josh Rodriguez. He's another friend of ours, local competitor, black belt instructor. He had some big fights this year. Big fight to win. Third Coast Grappling.
It was
Third Coast Victory.
Yep.
The Slap, which came after our podcast episode, right?
Yep.
So if you saw the Slap, that was a funny moment, and it was just great, just perfect.
I think he was wearing a Royal Union rash guard too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I got a little bit of publicity out of that Slap. I can't lie. I didn't hate that. So, but it was all good in the end. I think they're gonna fight again. So
that's what I heard. I heard that at Master Worlds. I heard they're
trying to put something together again at a Fight to Win maybe. And Josh talked about a bunch of stuff as well. Great, tons of great insight from Josh. I mean, he's, to me, and we talked about him this morning in our class. He's like a jiu-jitsu genius. He like always, for us in our gym, he's the guy that, to me, he always has an answer. Like I ask him any position, he's been there, done that. When I roll with him, it's just like he gets me with stuff that I just don't even. He just pulls obscure submissions out, like he's just like a little wizard, you know. So, and you can tell when you're talking to Josh and on the episode itself, shared tons of great knowledge. Also went through a horrendous.
Oh man!
Botched knee. I don't know. Is it botched?
It's botched.
A horrendous surgery that did not take at all. Had to go get multiple surgeries. Really, almost life-threatening in a way, in terms of what he said he went through. Scary situation. That one is you don't want to miss that one. That was episode 38 with Josh Rodriguez. Crazy, you know, had knee surgery to do corrective knee surgery, got infection, you know, multiple weeks in the hospital, back and forth, surgeries.
Ends up with a central line in his arm, shooting antibiotics.
Yep, crazy stuff.
It's just,
you know, comes back after that and competes and is back training, you know. So great episode with Josh. And then our last sixth guest just happened earlier this month with Alex Martinez, episode 49. So it was the last episode we had Alex on. Go check that one out. Alex shared a bunch about his new gym, opening a new gym. A lot of great insight into instruction, promotion. You know, I really enjoyed that. I've had a few people talk to me about hearing, you know, appreciating what he shared in the podcast. So
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Really good. So,
man. So with that, that was 2021. 2022's coming up.
Yeah.
What? Maybe I shouldn't ask this. I don't want to put you on the spot. But what?
I haven't thought about it yet. I gotta.
What
how many
is
days do I have left to set my goals?
What's on the horizon for Paul in 2022?
Oh man, a lot. Yeah.
You want to compete again, huh?
Yes, I do want to compete again. And that, for me, it's like 10th on the priority list, though. You know, That's the hard thing for me. So I have to just find some time to where I can set aside.
You gotta schedule it.
Yeah, schedule it, and then, you know, we have a few trips planned this year. The two businesses itself is just busy. You know, it's so damn hard to even really get consistent training in. You know, I force myself to train, but, you know, for a tournament, you got to turn it up. You know, you got to turn up the intensity mentally, physically. At least I do. I want to be prepared. And so definitely want to find something to do this year in terms of competition. But really, personal goals. I have, I wear a lot of hats, you know, so we have this podcast for one. I want to continue building that and get more guests in, share more stories on here. I have I'm an instructor at our gym, so that's a job. That's a job for me, you know.
Yeah.
So that is one of the most enjoyable things I do. So is teaching. So I really like that aspect of jiu-jitsu. I've just been growing into that role for over a year now. And that's actually big. I have big goals set, just to set some goals in terms of that, in terms of my skill as a teacher, but also what I'm sharing. Because the more I study jiu-jitsu and teach it, the more I'm learning as well. So, and I mentioned this to my friend the other day. It's like, at my age, I'm not too old to be on the mats and grapple, but I just can't put in the time and the hours like somebody that I might be training with is 20 years younger than me, So, and that's not an excuse. I'm not a hater on any. I wish I discovered, like a lot of people say, jiu-jitsu when I was younger, where I had way more free time. Like I wasted a lot of time in my, even my 20s and 30s where I wasn't doing things to better myself. I might have just been, I attribute it to like, and no offense to like, I spent a lot of like, in my 20s, I was on video games a lot, stuff like that. It's like, it's fun, but if I would discover something like jiu-jitsu, I just think it's that powerful. You know what I mean? You're really learning something. It's like a language, and it's just so good to learn something new. And you're always learning in jiu-jitsu. That's the beauty of it. You're never going to come to an end, So the point is that as I get older, I have to like basically also manage the time on the mats and everything else, right?
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is, for me, I just know that by committing myself to coaching, and I've been a coach for my kids before. I've been a leader in every business I've been in when I worked. I'm kind of just a vocal leader. So I like the coaching, but with jiu-jitsu especially, it really makes me dive deeper into the details and just learn more. I mean, if you just learn more. It has actually forced me. I wanted to challenge myself by doing that, because I was like, man, I can't be on the mats 5-6 days a week. I cannot. I can't do it. I can't keep up. There's no way, unless I'm not rolling or sparring every day and stuff. But that's just not something I can do at this point in my life. But I know it. So what I did was, I was like, I'm going to fully commit to coaching. And that, for me, that means a lot of study. And that forces me on the outside to do a lot of the harder work. So that when I am on the mat, I'm prepared. I'm always trying to incorporate something during my roles that I'm teaching that week or the next week. You know what I mean? It puts me ahead of my game.
Totally.
So I'm incorporating that into my roles. So that's a lot different than me just going and learning a lesson from someone. And no offense, when I go, like when I take Gustavo's classes, I love it. He's a great instructor. I always learn something new, but it's different. It's forcing me to like do all this extra work and sharing that and explaining it. It's like what they say, you write something down, you're going to remember it more. It's like, you teach and you're talking about stuff more, that those things stick in your brain. So I have a lot of big goals for that. And working towards my black belt. So that's always a goal, and, and for me, that means however I can do it, whatever, I take input from my coach, but I know what it takes to be a black belt. So at our gym, it takes extreme dedication, and a lot of mat time and a lot of study and talking about jiu-jitsu and knowing everything about jiu-jitsu and you know what I mean? And showing the dedication, to be honest. And that's what I'm doing. So that's a goal in the next couple of years, black belt, competing, keep teaching a lot of jiu-jitsu related stuff. And that's not even to talk about like my businesses. So that's, so those are my very personal goals, but my business goals are my personal goals too. So
yeah, totally.
It's so hard because you have so many. So I have to prioritize, the teaching and the jiu-jitsu, that's just part of who I am. So I'm just gonna, I teach 2 days a week right now. Sometimes I'll fill in, do more, but mostly it's 2 days a week. And then I try to train 1 or 2 additional days.
Yeah.
But so I'm dialed in all the time with that. And that's what I love, that's why we talk about it here. So I geek out about that stuff. My friends are all do jiu-jitsu. Everyone talks about jiu-jitsu. We're on a podcast talking about jiu-jitsu. That's what we do. So business-wise, I have some goals for my jiu-jitsu company.
What is the name of that jiu-jitsu company?
Roll Union. Yeah, I forget. For you new listeners, Roll Union Jiu-Jitsu. So we popped off 2 years ago. So we're 2 years old, a little over 2 years old with Roll Union, and I had a really good year this year. I'm almost basically a one-man show. I have a team of people around me that have helped me with manufacturing, but I touch everything. So that means I inspect everything, so if you guys, and I have a lot of listeners here also, I know for a fact that they purchase stuff from Royal Union. So I really appreciate that. So I'm just going to drop something for the Royal Union fans out there that listen to the Road to Black. If you're in the Phoenix area, the Arizona Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu League is the biggest league in Arizona. It's the go-to. They put the best tournaments on. They're moving this year to a state-of-the-art, sick facility in Mesa. They've been doing tournaments in Phoenix College the last several years. They put the best. They're mini IBJJF tournaments. So if you haven't done a tournament with the Arizona Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu League, go do it. I mean, top notch. Everything is clean. It's clean. I hear it from everywhere. I've heard it from out-of-towners. Everyone loves that tournament. We're going to be a sponsor of the whole season. So
dang.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun.
Man, congratulations.
Yeah, we'll have booths set up at each of the events. Full sponsorship. So it's going to be good, man. It's get some more, let people put their eyes right on some apparel, because we're mostly an online shopping, you can see photos all day long, but once you see it up close, I really firmly believe we have nice looking stuff. So, check us out. Even this February is the first tournament, and we plan on being there. So, first tournament, new facility, double the mat space. They go to 12 mats. It's going to be sick. It's a sick season. Yeah.
I'm like, as you were going through that, I was sitting here trying to rack my brain to think of another like jiu-jitsu federation or league, whatever word you want to use, in the Southwest that is as big. Outside of IBJJF. I mean, you get some Jiu-Jitsu World League that comes through there, but they're not consistent enough to be what I consider to be a Southwest league.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like league, they travel so much.
There's no bigger
I don't
league.
think so either.
I don't know.
So,
not in the Southwest, but because you have like AGF, you have Jiu-Jitsu World League. Those they do travel, but I mean, it would be like if Jiu-Jitsu World League had like a Southern California series and they put 6 to 8 tournaments on a year, which is what the AZ Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu League does. So they put on a bunch of tournaments. So if one of those does that in a local area. Here it's unique because it's all in the Phoenix metro area, and they're big tournaments.
They're big tournaments. Like I know there's people from, I know Otto sends a bunch of guys from Southern California. You get a bunch of guys from Vegas that come out there. Yeah. Like it's crazy the amount of competition that they get in that tournament.
I actually happened to talk to the promoter. He was saying that it used, even more so now though, it's almost, I don't know the percentage, I'm not going to repeat the percentage, but a huge percentage is just AZ competitors though. It's that big, that's how big the jiu-jitsu scene is grown. Because his point is back in the day, he's been promoting these forever. You would have way more people from the Southwest states because there wasn't any tournaments. So now there's more tournaments, but the mind-blowing thing is we still get people from out of states at this one, but the amount of AZ competitors has just went through the roof, as you know, because the scene here is like, it's
crazy.
I've seen other people in like, online like posts and stuff about BJJ fanatics or something, and like I've seen other people from other states are like, I can't believe the AZ scene, how many gyms there are out there. Other people commenting on the scene, and there's a lot. But you know what? I think it's like that everywhere now. Everywhere, there's so many gyms opening up.
I know.
Texas, the Austin area, Houston. There's a ton of gyms down there. Obviously, California, Florida, ton of gyms. Mm-hmm. It's everywhere. I think it's just blowing up, and more people are opening gyms because, and they're making it work. They're pretty successful. And you heard Alex talk about it last week on how good they're doing. Mm-hmm. If you have the right game plan, it's a sport that it's blowing up and it's gaining in popularity big time. Yep. It's starting to get into the purview of regular society. I in the last couple of years, I've had more people, probably in the last year, I've had more people that were not affiliated jiu-jitsu at all talk to me about jiu-jitsu than in the 8-9 years I've trained before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like more and more people, they'll just be like, oh, what they like before when you would say jiu-jitsu, like 7-8 years ago, no one and even longer, obviously, but people would be like, what, karate? But now people literally know because it's just in the mainstream. You have celebrities doing it. I saw, who was it? I was hearing somebody talk about it the other day, and he was like, there was this guy, I think it was at my work. He was talking about jiu-jitsu and knew like a lot of submissions, almost like he knew jiu-jitsu, didn't train at all. But he was like, he followed a bunch of people online, like some of the superstars online. Isn't that cool? Like I never thought about that, but that does happen, Yeah, totally. Because I don't fight MMA or something, but I follow them. So I never think of that because I always think of like, oh, if you're in the jiu-jitsu community, you're not. Yeah, you're not. You got to be doing jiu-jitsu, but exactly. It's not true. There's a lot of regulars now that follow, like Gordon Ryan, for instance, because he's polarizing. He's,
pretty loud. He's pretty loud.
He did something so stupid this other day.
I saw that.
That guy can't get out of his own way. I don't want to go on a Gordon Ryan. We won't. We'll save that for. But people follow him because of that. He's just vocal, and it's crazy. So I think it's growing tremendously. I think these tournaments that the league out here in Arizona is going to put on are just going to blow up even bigger because I've already had a couple people who are like, hey, I haven't been like competing in years, but they're kind of intrigued to like even just go do a new facility and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, totally. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be totally exciting. Yeah, absolutely. It's way different than the gym too. Like a Phoenix College gym, it's like you're in a gymnasium. No, in this you're in like a performance. It's like a performance hall. It's like a sports performance facility. So it's dope. I saw a little video clip of the inside, and it's going to be cool. So so that's what I'm doing. So a little bit bigger plans for my apparel company, just getting the word out there more. Obviously there'd be some drops and releases throughout the year, but people like training in the gear, and I like designing it and putting it out there. It's fun. It's just cool, man. I mean, if you can imagine how cool it would be to have your own apparel company, your own gi, and walk out on the mat with your own gi. That's how I feel. It's pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie. So I don't have to worry about ever purchasing a gi. I got plenty of them. I make them all the time. So it's what brings me joy. I have my other company as well, Chill Fit, and just trying to keep banging it out with that company too, trying to grow. Face different pressures with that job. It's a on location. I have a brick and mortar company, so I have customer facing all the time. I have employees there. We have the pressures of the economy, COVID, tons of, we took a huge hit from COVID. So it's a stressor having small businesses, as you know, man. It's, you don't get any time off. And when you're running multiple things like I am, it's you can dig yourself a deep hole real quick. So I do think about these things, you know. There's a lot of goals to answer your question. There's a lot of goals, but there's always goals, you know. You know how it is. I'm not, it's nothing. If anything, if there's any new goal for the new year, because I think about these things all year round, you know, I'm always thinking the months ahead, you know, especially when I do my apparel. I have to think about releases and what events we're doing and this and that. Same thing with Chill Fit. What time of year it is? Well, how many customers, you know, is it sports season, that type of thing. But I'm thinking about it all year. But the one thing I have been thinking about is I want to just tune up the health side a little bit more. Probably mentioned in the last podcast, but just clean my diet up a little bit more. You know, nothing drastic, but make incremental changes. I just these last couple of months, especially, I was going to try to like do it over the holiday, and I ate so many cookies and stuff. I was like, all cookied out, you know. I'm like, I just ate too much sugar. So just getting healthy, and you know, that's always one for me, is staying healthy, you know. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so it's important for me in the long haul to be as healthy as possible. So it's not easy, you know, doing all this.
It's not easy.
There's no stopping, you know. There's not many naps in this life for me, you know. I'm always going and grinding, and to be able to do that, I think you have to have the right mindset and the right health, you know. You got to be healthy enough to do it. So I if I'm not working at it, I'm feeling weaker, you know, honestly. If I don't go to the gym as much, I feel weaker. It feels harder every time I try to go back. Same thing with rolling, you know. If I'm not rolling consistently and hard, it's harder when I try to, like right now, I'm still trying to come back with my cardio after COVID a couple months ago. I'm honestly, it's like, so it's crazy. This time of year, there's also a ton of allergies, and I get asthma. So it's just like, it's, you know, it's one thing after another, you know. So, but it's just the grind. So, if anything, the new year for me just brings a reset. You know, I do focus a little bit on that, the health aspect, and if I've been doing everything right or enough, and go from there, you know. Hopefully things work out and you make right decisions throughout the year. I can say that, like with jiu-jitsu, it's a lot like business, you know. It's like you have to manage, you got to make realistic goals based in expectations of yourself, you know. I've known people that just make these crazy goals and they're almost unattainable, and I'm just like, man, you're letting yourself down every year or every couple of months or every tournament, you know. It's like, just go through and make it. We've talked about this on the podcast, you know. Set some goals that you can attain, and then go from there, and just small incremental steps, improvement every day. Make the right decisions every day. You know, if it's jiu-jitsu, and, you know, don't blow your wad and try to train too much 2 times a day for 3-4 days in a row, and then you can't go in for a week because you're sore, or you hurt your knee or something. It's like, be smart about it. You know, we got a pretty consistent group in our class, and I think you know, everyone loves jiu-jitsu. That's the problem. You know, we talked about it with one of my buddies today. His arms have been killing him, you know, tendonitis, and he's just there every day though, you know. And he's like, he even said today, he's like, I know I'm doing what Wes says not to do on the podcast. But you know, so
whoever that is, come see me.
Yeah, I won't mention his name, but it's he's, you know, but he loves it. You know, he just And I tried to have a conversation with him too. It's like, what are you gonna do? It's, you know, you can try to take a few days off or something. You know, you got to do something. You got to do some rehab then. You know, that's what I was telling him. You know, it's just not going to get better if you keep coming and getting, you know, whether it's fighting off arm bars or doing your own stuff. You know, for him, it's been hurting him for everything he does. You know, it's just, and I've had it like that, where you get tendonitis where it's almost chronic, and it's like, it's not debilitating, but you think you can do stuff, and then all of a sudden it gets worse and worse and worse.
It'll bark at you.
Yeah.
So, it'll let you know it.
But he did make that funny comment, and so he knows better. But it's hard to take it. It's hard to take a break off. So that's the whole point. It's fun, especially when you have a good group of people. You know, you want to be training.
And when if you I don't know who this person is, and I don't know where they're at in their jiu-jitsu.
It was Jordan. It was Jordan.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Especially, I mean, for him, he trains like, he's very consistent, and he competes. I'm sure he wants to compete again in the new year. But if you're, and I'm not speaking for him, but I'm fairly certain that, man, when you feel like you're hitting on all cylinders, and you're hitting those growth phases, and you're consistent, and you're on the mats, and it's hard to be like,
yeah.
I mean,
it's the hardest time to ever not to go.
It's the worst time to be like, oh, this freaking elbow is flaring up right now, and I feel like, I mean, when you hit those growth spurts, it's like when you go through like weeks or even like a month of. Mm-hmm. I just don't feel like I can do anything wrong on the mats right now. Like all my techniques are just like, you're just going through them like clean, like you're setting your transitions, or you're hitting your goals, or you're starting to chain stuff together, and you're finding you're like those couple things that are like your A game stuff, and you're finding different ways to get into it. And oh man, it's so hard to be oh man, this elbow's pissing me off. I don't want to go today.
He's in that exact mode right now. Exactly. Because he's feeling good on the mats. He even mentioned like he had a night the other night where he was like he was hitting submissions, and he like didn't even know where he was pulling them out of, Totally. You know how you get that where it's like it just comes out of nowhere, and you're in the flow, and you're just you don't thinking about it too much, and you're just hitting stuff. So I felt his pain, and that was the whole conversation today. So we talked about doing some, we used both two people mentioned this, one being myself, about one of those flexi bars.
Those are great. Yeah,
those things are great for tendonitis. So I have one. I'm gonna let him borrow it. I go, you got to do something, man. If you're gonna keep training, you're gonna keep. Yeah, I've had long-term tendonitis in my elbow, on my left elbow, and it's a pain in the ass.
I send those to athletes when they come to me.
Those
with
are great.
If I'm like, do you have, I'll ask them what they have access to. If one of the things that they have is not one of those, they're getting one in the mail.
Great.
In the next week.
Those are
It's
great.
just like, I'm just going to send you a set of these, and we're going to put this tendonitis stuff to bed. Done.
Yeah, I would do those religiously, and it helped tremendously, man.
Yeah.
So, man.
That's awesome.
What are your goals? Hit me up.
Well, I think, I talked earlier about not banging my head against the wall, taking a week or 10 days off of jiu-jitsu. This is really the time where I'm kind of like you. I've got so many, this stuff I'm constantly like thinking a month or a quarter ahead or whatever, long term, I try to play the long game, but it really is a time for me to kind of, I typically in December, I'll look at the last kind of chunk of time, and think about how I did. So like, for instance, I felt pretty good about how I finished the year with my business and like with jiu-jitsu. So, did Master Worlds, did the International Masters, competed. So I've competed a couple times, haven't competed in a couple years. So I felt super happy about that. So I want to like make sure I'm rolling that positive trajectory into 2022. So that's one of the things that I want to continue on. So I'm like, because with my business, it was kind of weird. I've never been in a place I've always wanted to be in a place where I could travel to do jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. And not like, I'm not a pro athlete, but for me, it helps to be at those tournaments because I'm wearing my shirt. I'm talking to athletes. It's networking. I'm meeting up with my clients, which is
100%
for a remote business when all of my interactions are through through a screen like you and I are sharing right now. You can build a really good relationship, but man, when they're competing and I'm out there and we get to meet up, I take people out to dinners or, drinks or whatever. That stuff goes a long way, and that like brings me a lot of joy. So I'm finally in a place with my business where I can do that stuff. And then if I compete too, it's a double win. It's great. Exactly. So, I want to continue that trajectory on into 2022. I'm like really excited about being in that place finally.
Cool.
And so
that's exciting.
I'm super pumped about it, man. This is like really the back end of this year was like I feel like things kind of turned a corner. I think 2022, I'm going to be bringing on an intern. So I'm to the point where, I'm growing to the point where I'm going to need some help. So
yeah, that's cool.
That's kind of coming, I think, sooner than later, which is a different set of problems to have, but one that I feel like I'm kind of I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
So professionally, I'm continuing to grow and the business. I mean, December oddly was historically, so when I've only been in business maybe a year and a half with this one. Mm-hmm. I transitioned my old business over that was around for a couple months. And I rebranded it, but this one's been going for about a year and a half, and it's finally kind of turning that corner to where it's I'm like starting to
start to your branch out and do the things you want to do.
I'm branching out. Yeah, exactly. And
have some funds in the bank to be able to travel and do those things.
Totally.
That will in turn, that's how you're going to build business.
Yeah. So
you have to. I mean, that's what you have to do. You have to connect with people.
Totally. It's all about relationships.
Yeah,
and Nick Flores mentioned that on his podcast, and he said when he got his black belt, it's one of the things he said, Jiu Jitsu is all about relationships. It is.
Yeah.
It is all about relationships. And I'm happy to be able to be in a place where I can start doing that more and being at these tournaments and flying around and traveling and competing myself. I'm happy to be back competing.
Yeah.
So
building a team up, it's
building up the squad. So
this is what you want.
That's it. Yeah.
I was careful what you asked for.
Yeah. That's the other thing. So it's,
you're going to blow up. Obviously you have a really good system. Everyone that's been through it has, gotten great results, enjoyed it, and I know you're a great communicator, and that's all you need, and then you just have to make new connections, you've been doing that all year, but to get out there, to get on the scene, that's what makes the job fun, right? I mean, you got to have fun. You got to be out there. You got to be seeing the athletes, seeing what they're experiencing, becoming an expert in jiu-jitsu, because with jiu-jitsu comes knowing the injuries that come along with jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
I mean, the stuff you've been putting out in the content, I know everyone's been loving it. A couple of them have been going viral. And so your breakdowns, I think you're going to have a strong breakdown game this year. And that's just you getting more comfortable and really becoming more of an expert in your field. And you're relating everything to the sport because you're working with these athletes.
Man, you get this. I know you get this, man. That social media stuff is hard as a business owner. Mm-hmm. A lot of I know I'm not the only one that deals with this with social media, but when you're putting yourself out there, man, and you're making yourself vulnerable on social media, when you put your face up there and you start trying to explain something, you're like, fuck, man, people are judging. They're not, but it is like,
yeah, that's what you think.
It is hard to do. It is like social media has been so I came out of when I started this business and I started to go digital, all digital. I didn't have social media. I didn't have Instagram. I didn't have Facebook. I was completely off the map. I had been that way I deleted my Facebook in like 2009 or 2010. Like I had it when it was like a college email thing.
Yeah.
It got big. I deleted it and I was out and I never restarted it.
Yeah.
And when I started going digital, it was like, well, if you're going to be digital, you got to have digital tools. And then it becomes like, when you're posting, it's like, and you're posting stuff that for me, I'm passionate about, which means, and you put it out there for the whole world to see, man, that shit is hard, man.
Yeah. Very hard. And for what you do, it's even harder. To actually be doing lives and stuff, like having your own face on there and talking, but you know what's helped you do that? This podcast.
Totally.
100%. Because I remember when we just had audio of this podcast and I was like, we got to get on YouTube. And you were like, You kind of like gave me you were like, what? We're getting on camera? I remember you had that reaction.
Totally.
I was like, yeah, we got to do it, man. We got to get on YouTube.
YouTube is life, man.
And
it is.
So I think that this helped as well, you know. And who gives a shit? You know,
I know.
That's
totally.
really what it's about. If you don't want to watch us right now on YouTube, bye.
Scroll on. Exactly. Scroll on.
We're just two guys talking shit. And if you like to hang out and listen to what we have to say, go for it. If not, so be it. You know, I don't judge anybody one way or another. But I'm just we're just regular guys we're on the road to black, and we're both grinding. You know, it could be we could be two IT dorks that have a podcast and we work for a corporation, but we're not. We happen to be entrepreneurs. We're both run our own businesses, and we relate to each other a lot that way. So, and we complement each other with this podcast, you know, because we kind of came together with that. Neither of us had experience doing either one of those, but both of us thought it would be good for our growth. Mm-hmm. And that's how we operate. Both of us operate in that way. If you're not thinking that way, start thinking that way. Yep. You know, start challenging yourself to stepping outside your comfort zone. When I started that in my professional career at my former employer, my growth just skyrocketed.
It goes crazy.
Crazy. I remember this. I remember this to the day. Like this is probably like going on 20 years ago. And I remember I had this director, and he was a very personable, loud, like kind of walked in the room. Everybody, you know, garnered everyone's attention. You know, it was like, but really friendly guy. You know, but talked with, you know, stern, like I remember he came into my office one time, and he didn't even have. I was an analyst, so my job was to do analysis of all the data that came in through this department, which in my former work, I was in the utility business. So our department would do like substation maintenance. So if you know what the substations are, where those big transformers are and electricity goes in, those yards are full of equipment, and all of those equipment are maintained every year. So everything on those equipment, all the analytics on how the equipment works, when it's been maintained, the cycles it needs to be maintained, all of that is kept in a database, and it's run on a program. I was the administrator and ran the whole program, and did all the reporting. So I was a business analyst, and I was good at it, really good. And I'm just saying that I was known to, like, I made like a principal analyst. I made like one of the top analysts in the company because that was what I did. I was just obsessed about this, but I never talked to anybody. Like there was a woman that worked next to me. She became a good friend of mine, and she goes, the first 6 months we were cubicle mates. She goes, you didn't say a word to me. This is like 5 years later after I became her friend, but that's how I was. I was so dialed into my job. And one day this guy came up to me. He goes, that director, he goes, you know what? You could be the best damn analyst. There's 6,000 people in the company. You can be the best one in the company, and maybe you're already up there because you're never going to get to the management and directorship positions that you want as your goal without getting out of that goddamn seat and going and talking to people. And from that moment on, I'll never forget that, because he was just that was him saying, he's like, it doesn't matter how smart you are. Like, it's about relationships. If you want to be a leader, is what he was saying, you need to step outside the box, and you need to have some personal growth. And you have to be growing and gaining wisdom and gaining insight and all these things. And he became somewhat of a mentor of mine, and that's what I did from that point on. And my career took off. You know, I started hitting all the goals I wanted to hit. I got this job. I got this supervisor job. I started developing groups. I was well respected. But my point is like, that was like uncomfortable for me to do that, to step outside and like become more social and more like, you know, not look at everything as a business or that person's in charge of, you know what I mean? It's like, I had to start developing relationships, and then the work that I promoted got done better. I was always the guy that was like, hey, here's here's the analysis. It's great. And they, you know, it might not go anywhere. But his point is if you can go and say, hey, we have the analysis, but you already developed the relationships, right? And people, they trust in you. and they know this guy's, you can push your agenda better.
Yeah.
So that goes with everything in life. You know what I mean? Go get some skills, step outside your comfort zone, go challenge yourself, whether it's a jiu-jitsu tournament or something in your career. Go get another job, I mean, like, you know what I mean? Try to challenge yourself at a job. I used to work with people that be in the same position 10, 15 years. It's like, go challenge yourself and do something else. You might be 50 years old, but hey, you might get some other experience that, you're not going to lose all the experience you got.
Yeah.
So that's always good to do as a New Year's resolution. So, man, step outside the box. I'm always looking to do that, So I mean, you heard me when I talked about my goals. That's kind of how they're driven. It's like taking a little bit of a chance. It's something.
Absolutely, man.
Take a little bit of a chance here. See if that pays off or works. If it doesn't, go this route. You got to be able to switch around, and especially as an entrepreneur. And I know we have a bunch of entrepreneurs following us, and man. 2022.
2022. Let's hope it's not 2022.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Let's hope it's 2022. We're moving forward. So
I'm not really. I don't know. Hopefully not. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't think we are either.
I don't think America will ever let us go back to that.
No, I don't think so either. I
never know.
Yeah, I think.
We've had so many COVID episodes. I'm so done with it. It's like we've already had a couple episodes that said, no, we're not going to talk about COVID anymore, or COVID like issues, or 2020. That's just what it was. It was one to be written off. But
yeah, man, I'm excited for the new year. I mean, I'm just going to keep rolling. Life doesn't really change for me. I've got a couple things I want to change, just in efficiency, but
yeah.
I'm already doing that stuff, so it's just,
Yep. Awesome. Listeners, thank you for the year.
Thank you guys.
It's been a great year. If anybody has any comments, questions, concerns, always just DM us. We both on our Instagram, so the Road to Black podcast. Go DM us, especially if you have any episode ideas. I've had a couple personal communications with people that have turned into episodes. So there's always stuff to talk about with jiu-jitsu, but sometimes, we do talk about in our own circle of experience. So if you're experiencing something else and you want to talk about it, we would love to discuss that. So if you guys got any ideas for great guests that shoot us a DM.
Shoot them.
We're going
to... That's the great. I mean, the one thing about social media, man, you can talk to whoever, and I say that because, in one way, it is a little bit of a disconnect with, we're on our phones and blah blah blah. But in another way, we are kind of connected. Like you and I both monitor that account, the Road to Black podcast account, and for any listener, I mean, I want to let everybody know. Feel free to shoot us a message. I mean, we check it, we respond, we love it. We are into communication.
We need to know you're out there.
So
we need to know there's people listening. Honestly.
Always feel free to shoot us a message, and if you got something that you want us to speak on, it just shoot us a sentence or two. We'll
put in our 2 cents.
Yeah.
And other than that, man, just thank you for listening, everyone, the listeners. We appreciate you. Set some goals for this new year. Wes, you got anything else?
I got nothing else, man. It's been a good year, and more to come.
All right. Episode 50 in the books. We'll be back with 51 in the new year. Happy New Year.